In Hollywood, the boundary between chance and exploitation has always been barely visible. Behind the glamour, bright flashes, and powerful networks, there exist stories that many celebrities prefer to keep hidden. Yet, occasionally, someone dares to speak out, not for attention, but to expose what truly happens once the cameras go dark. Recently, actor Terrence Howard, famous for roles in Hustle and Flow, Empire, and The Best Man, shared an uneasy experience involving music tycoon Sean Diddy Combs. His account, though disturbing, aligns perfectly with the troubling narrative insiders like Jaguar Wright have been warning the world about for years. As of October 2025, Diddy sits behind bars, serving a 50-month sentence for 2 counts of illegal transportation for immoral purposes. The verdict confirms
Diddy told her he was going to get Biggie. She knew it was going to happen. She was purposefully not by her husband's side that night.
But before Diddy's empire began to collapse, Terrence Howard's account stood as one of the rare times a respected Hollywood man spoke out about feeling targeted by one of the industry's most influential figures. And now, with Jaguar Wright connecting the dots publicly, this story has become a crucial link in understanding how Diddy allegedly used his influence not only to control the music scene, but to manipulate people throughout Hollywood. Terrence Howard's experience started innocently enough. During a sit-down on the Patrick Bet-David podcast in April 2024, he explained how Diddy had called him repeatedly for weeks, asking for acting guidance. Diddy said he wanted to expand his ability to express emotions, to act, perform, and deepen his artistic range. At first, Terrence saw it as a professional request. After all, he was a skilled actor, and Diddy, despite his fame, often liked to reinvent himself. Moving between music, film, and fashion, Howard eventually agreed to meet. But once the meeting happened, things turned unsettling. Instead of a standard session or talk about scripts, Diddy allegedly just sat there, silently staring at Howard. No clear reason, no small talk, just a prolonged gaze that quickly grew uncomfortable. Howard, known for his composure, later admitted the moment left him uneasy. Diddy then asked to hear some of Terrence's own music, a side passion he enjoyed outside acting. Yet even while listening, Diddy reportedly continued to stare. Howard eventually ended the meeting, feeling puzzled and disturbed. When he later described it to his assistant, the assistant immediately pointed out what Howard himself hadn't wanted to consider, that Diddy's conduct seemed like a subtle advance. Terrence remembered his assistant plainly saying something along the lines of, "I think he was trying to make a move on you." The realization startled Howard. It wasn't just the awkward encounter. It was understanding that this type of situation wasn't new. He said that throughout his Hollywood journey, some producers had tried similar approaches, but he always made his boundaries clear. "It's strange," he once said, "but I've lost work because I refuse to compromise who I am." He never played into the industry's hidden games, nor traded self-respect for progress. He stated that he would never take a part that required betraying his sense of manhood or personal dignity. "When you challenge a real man's masculinity," he explained, "you'll get a genuine reaction in return." That statement hit home for many listeners. It was no longer just about Diddy. It highlighted a wider culture in Hollywood, where power often expects silence and defiance carries heavy consequences. Terrence Howard's story may seem shocking, but for people like Jaguar Wright, it's another example of what she's been exposing for years. Wright has long claimed that the entertainment business runs on hidden trials, scenarios meant to test how far someone will go to gain acceptance among the elite. In her view, these trials often disguise themselves as opportunities, a private party, a meeting, or the promise of mentorship. Yet beneath the charm and wealth lies manipulation. Some insiders call it breaking the artist. Others say it's a way to secure loyalty through secrecy. In Howard's case, What appeared to be a simple acting session turned into something else entirely. If Diddy truly intended to use that meeting as a form of control, it perfectly fits the pattern Wright has described, where influence and intimacy become tools of domination. She has often said Diddy used such encounters to test limits, to see who would stay quiet and who would resist. Those who complied were rewarded, while the ones who pushed back allegedly found themselves blacklisted or cut off from opportunities. Howard's later career challenges seem more complex when seen through that lens. While Empire revived his fame, he's also spoken about feeling underpaid, unappreciated, and constantly pressured by studios. Some now wonder if Diddy's brief, yet strange attention toward him was part of a broader Hollywood reality. One where refusing to play along meant losing favor. Jaguar Wright's name has become synonymous with truth-telling in an industry built on illusion. Long before Diddy's conviction, she had been warning others about his behavior, calling him manipulative, domineering, and dangerous. In interviews, Wright claimed she had witnessed Diddy use charm and authority to trap people in compromising situations. She said she had attended some of his notorious parties, not as celebrations, but as controlled environments designed to exploit vulnerability. According to her, she sometimes went to these gatherings not to join in, but to protect those unaware of what they were stepping into. In one viral moment, she asked, "Who's going to help them? What kind of HR exists in this business to protect artists?" That question summed up her mission. For her, calling out Diddy wasn't gossip, it was survival. Wright said she watched him build fear around himself, using secrets as weapons to ensure silence. During her appearance on Piers Morgan Uncensored in October 2024, she described Diddy as one of the most dangerous individuals she had ever met. A machine that creates victims, destroying lives quietly while pretending to be a mentor and visionary. She also claimed he possessed damaging material on other powerful industry figures, videos, texts, and records capable of ending careers. Wright warned that anyone who believed Diddy would remain quiet if cornered was gravely mistaken. At first, many people brushed off her claims as desperate attempts for attention. But once Diddy's trial began and witnesses came forward describing his freak-off parties and the way he arranged transport for explicit activities, Jaguar Wright's warnings suddenly didn't sound so unbelievable. By mid-2025, nearly everything Wright had been shouting for years was finally being proven in court. Diddy faced several charges, including racketeering, trafficking, and illegal transportation for immoral acts. Although the most severe accusation, racketeering conspiracy, was eventually dismissed, he was convicted on 2 counts of unlawful transportation. The trial uncovered disturbing truths about Diddy's secret world, one driven by control, pressure, and hidden manipulation. Witnesses described how women were moved across state lines for encounters he allegedly organized. Prosecutors relied on the century-old Mann Act, which forbids transporting individuals for illegal sexual purposes.
Anybody who go to jail, if it's for drug dealers, they go to jail. Some of them don't even use drugs.
While the racketeering element was harder to establish, the transportation charges were concrete enough to secure a guilty verdict. The judge handed Diddy a 50-month sentence, emphasizing that his wealth and influence made his crimes even more destructive. Diddy sent a letter to the court expressing remorse, saying he had lost his path and been broken to his core. For Jaguar Wright, this wasn't about revenge. It was validation. She had been claiming for years that Diddy's empire thrived on fear and silence, and now a federal court had confirmed that at least part of that darkness was real. The entertainment world is filled with untold stories. Contracts signed, parties attended, opportunities chased, often without awareness of the hidden cost. Wright has repeatedly insisted that Diddy wasn't the only one operating this way. She described the entire system as a web where those in power exchange access for obedience. Terrence Howard's brief interaction with Diddy shows how subtle these manipulations can be. It wasn't a scandal, but it was a moment of testing, a reminder of the power imbalance between two men in an ego-driven industry. Interestingly, Howard later clashed with Diddy regarding Empire when Diddy's stepson Quincy Brown sought a role on the show. Reports say a disagreement erupted over music ownership. Howard allegedly stood his ground, demanding fairness. For someone like Diddy, accustomed to controlling contracts and creative rights, such resistance probably didn't sit well. Howard's statements about losing jobs for sticking to his principles fit perfectly into the wider Hollywood narrative. Obedience is rewarded, but defiance is punished. And one major reason so few speak out is fear. Fear of losing work, fear of being blacklisted, fear of retaliation. Wright has often said that Diddy's true power didn't lie in his fortune or fame, but in his ability to keep people silent. She claimed he collected compromising material on those who attended his parties, ensuring no one would dare expose him later. Unlike most, Howard refused to stay quiet about his unease. He spoke openly and calmly. His story wasn't one of violence or crime, but it pointed to something much deeper. A culture where personal boundaries are constantly tested and saying no can quietly destroy a career. That's what makes Jaguar Wright's voice so vital. Even when people mocked or dismissed her, she refused to stop. She said she'd rather be labeled crazy than stay silent while others suffered. Now that Diddy is serving time, the entertainment world is being forced to confront its reflection. The same people who once praised him on stage now avoid uttering his name. Brands that once proudly collaborated with him have quietly erased his trace from their image. But Wright isn't celebrating yet.
Found guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in.
She insists this is only the beginning, that Diddy's conviction merely scratches the surface of a much larger machine. She believes he wasn't acting alone. It's a reminder that the problem isn't just one man's crimes. It's the system that enabled them for decades. A culture that protected abusers, silenced victims, and left people like Terrence Howard walking away confused and powerless. In his letter to the judge, Diddy claimed humility, asking for mercy so he could return to his children and his mother. Whether that repentance is sincere or strategic remains unclear. But Howard's testimony, Wright's years of warnings, and the evidence revealed in court together paint a portrait of a man who thrived on dominance and a system that rewarded it. For Howard, the experience was personal. For Wright, it was a crusade. And for the rest of the world, it has become a disturbing case study of how power, celebrity, and manipulation intertwine within the entertainment industry's shadows. Terrence Howard had no reason to speak out. He's successful, respected, and had nothing to gain by challenging someone as powerful as Diddy. Yet his honesty exposed how even strong, established figures can be subtly targeted. And with Jaguar Wright's long-ignored warnings now proven accurate, people are finally asking the difficult questions. How deep does this culture of exploitation go? How many careers were destroyed simply because someone refused to comply? And most hauntingly, how many stories like Terrence Howard's remain untold? The truth about Diddy might be public now, but Hollywood's silence still runs deep. As we revisit Howard's experience and everything Wright has risked to reveal, one question continues to echo long after the headlines fade. When the lights go out in Hollywood, who really holds the power? And who has the courage to speak the truth? If you found this story eye-opening, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss our latest videos.
He didn't tell the NYPD officers. He didn't tell the Department of Correction officers. He didn't tell none of the parole officers or anybody he had working for him that was officers. He told street dudes who had did dirt in the street. Quite a few tapes that might be out there, what they're hearing And I don't want to